Hi, we're going to be talking about the two playoff semifinals today. And we're going to start off with the Cotton Bowl. Alabama versus Michigan State. Number 2 versus number 3. And we're going to take a look at some of the stuff. Alabama is one of the balanced teams out there. The difference between the rushing yards and the rushing passing yards is less than about 69 or 59 yards. The attempts now is 170, but obviously you're going to get a lot more passing yards most of the time as the thing goes on, in the course of the game, most times. But also, in the end of some games, we just handed it off. They handed it off to Derrick Henry. In Auburn, I think he had like 17 straight or something. And pretty much just, it was probably like 12 straight. And they just ran it with him. And he got lots of yards there. So they're a balanced team. Michigan State, there's about 1,000-yard difference. They have 126 yard in a difference in attempt. They're kind of also a team that tries to just not pound, but like tough football, trying to pound it in, They kind of just try to ground and pound. Well, not ground and pound, but they kind of try to wear you down just like Alabama, but that is also not the way to beat Alabama. Alabama, you spread them out most of the time. You try to spread them out, and you have to run a very fast-paced offense now. They're more used to it. But also, it's hard to run on that front seven, led by G. Ragland and his squad of, players, obviously. I mean, I was listening to a thing, I think it was the CBS getting things like, you used to only have to know really, one or two players on, just the first string defensive line. Now you have to know everyone because they just rotate them in and out. I'm trying to think of other names I know. Well, Cyrus Jones down there at DB from Baltimore. I'm trying to think of other players that I know I've heard of, but the problem is defense. Secondary. Minkah Fitzpatrick stepped up. I think he got moved. Rashad Evans, one of them. Oh, from Auburn. That's even better. Oh, fun. You take players from Auburn. And there's a name I forgot. Well, if I'm going to the line, let's go to the high numbers. A'Shawn Robinson, that was the name I was thinking of. Jonathan Allen. And they were talking about before the Florida game and the pregame show how if one gets a sack, the rest of them want a sack. If one gets a tackle, which is, if I'm a coach and my player's saying, hey, now I want to get a sack because he got a sack, you did that 2 ways. All right, now they're really concerned. They want to be the best. They kind of want concerned about them being the greatest one, or they just want to outdo each other, which is going to end up being good for the team because they're going to strive to be the best and outdo each other. So they're going to try to get more sacks, more stops. So good problems to have. good problems to have. The offensive line, those big guys there, led by Ryan Kelly at the center, Cam Robinson there too. I'm trying to think. Did we lose? I'm trying to think if we lost one of them. We lost both of them. We maybe did. I think we did. They did. Yeah. They lost both. Like these weird last name to pronounce people. But they were good. Michigan State, I don't know much about them. It's led by Connor Cook, I know that much. Now you might say, oh, he doesn't really know sports, but think about it. Why should I be held to that? The leading rusher, they're more likely to rotate through people. The top three, they have LJ Scott 140 Ks on the year, J. Holmes 108, Madrid London 114. So I think it's more likely for them to be rotating players in and out. Now Alabama does that, but obviously, if you look at the statistics, Kenny Drake out for a lot of mistake game. There's always that injury. I think most of the Mississippi State game, at least over one half, at least a half, then out for Charleston Southern and Auburn. So, and then the other two guys were backups, pretty much. Well, backup freshmen. So that's why you saw Henry get all those loads. And then they didn't run him much in the SEC championship because I think they were kind of concerned. But I was listening to it on the radio because I was out somewhere. And when I heard that Kendrick Drake came back here, I'm like, yes, because that just gives a whole nother threat to that offense. Now, a threat that I haven't talked about yet, Jake Coker. Obviously, passing threat, that's easy to see. But his ability to try to avoid sacks, avoid contact, and he just tries to keep plays alive. Now, I'm not saying he's no Jameis Winston, Johnny Manziel in that case. There's times I'm like, what are you doing? And then usually 3 plays later, I'm like, you're a genius. You're amazing. But that's how I think most people are. Now, he's not most times he just keeps play alive and he gets it out. Another note, Derrick Henry 14 yards away from 2,000 yards. I don't think Michigan State's going to hold him only to 14. He's the Heisman winner. Second in school history. Another stat about Derrick Henry. I think in the last 6 games against FBS opponents, he ran for 208, almost 100 yards above the other games total. And you can say, oh wow, he only heated up at the end of the season, but that was the last 6 ones were. Depends on if Charleston Southern is one, but Florida, Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, Tennessee, and maybe A&M. I think Charleston Southern might not be. Let me. I'm trying to see here because if I'm correct, they were in. Let's see. this. I think that they are not an FBS opponent. They were not FBS, and I know that. Yes, they aren't. So versus Florida, Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. He had 208 yards per game. And those versus Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Georgia, Arkansas, and I think maybe Monroe and Middle Tennessee, maybe, who knows. He had close to 108. So he heated up when the team needed him down the stretch. Georgia, he broke out. But A&M, huge game. Tennessee, big game. LSU, he stole the spotlight there. Mississippi State, huge game. Auburn, obviously a huge game. We've all heard about that was probably his Heisman game. Florida was just probably just the validation of him winning the Heisman. Michigan State, let's see if I can get. Versus AP ranked opponents, they have 90 yards per game. Wow. Alright. Well, I think they were averaging a lot high. So they're averaging close to somewhere probably 150 normally, which Alabama is an AP an AP ranked team. So that's one thing to be warned of. So it goes down about 60 to 70 on rushing. Alabama versus ranked opponents 202. Home it's 193 per game on rushing and 242. The reason why I'm focused on rushing is I feel like this game would probably Alabama's defense is built to stop the run. That's pretty much commonly a thing. Like, there's not been an Alabama team not built to stop the run since Saban's gone there. Saban is pretty much a defense and a score any way you can, according to Saban. I read that somewhere. Don't remember where. Passing versus AP 114. Which is funny that their yards per game versus one is barely 200 versus a ranked opponent. Which I find, but then again, they've played they played 3. But still, and they've won all, well, I guess they didn't win really. I guess, yeah, I see that. But they won because the defense was better. Alabama versus AP ranked teams 176. So in other words, they're close to 400 yards per game. Wow. Which I find kind of. If I'm Michigan State, I'm probably like, yeah, we might be screwed here. Now, that's all for the. I'm just gonna do combo. I'll make another video about the Orange Bowl. Yeah, the Orange Bowl.